What's going on, guys? It's Adam P. Hope things are well. Welcome back, as Newcastle United has won 4 of their last 5 matches, and despite social media and perhaps some opinions amongst the fan base still not being fully positive towards recent performances, you've got to look at results. He won 4 of the last 5. That's a good return, and even in that Brighton match, second half, I felt like maybe just about done enough to get something out of the game. Just before we head into the news today, of course, if you are new around here, make sure you get down there, hit that subscribe button, join the journey, and make sure you don't miss out on any upcoming videos, because Wednesday onwards, we're back with the matches, and it's non-stop with Newcastle Champions League again next week at St James's Park. Marseille tickets come out tomorrow, so I'm going to be sweating a little bit buying that, but we'll be there. We'll be there in France, we'll be there in Germany, and again, we'll be there in France, and hopefully Newcastle will get into the knockout phase of the Champions League. I want to direct the first part of this video towards, I guess, the summer transfer window and how things have been for players going out the door, and also players that could have came through the door. You see it in the title straight away. Let's just get into Jurgen Strand Larsen, because has Newcastle United dodged a bullet not bringing him in? So in the context of when Newcastle was trying to bring players in, of course, they signed Big Nick. He's came in, done wonders. And then it was the choice of Strand Larsen or Johan Wissa. Both players have actually taught Newcastle United they wanted to join. Johan Wissa went on strike at Brentford for a prolonged period of time, refusing to play. Of course, was still training, but just not playing at all for the football club. Strand Larsen on the opposite side was straight up with Wolves. I want to move to Newcastle, but was behaving well, was still playing, was still training, was not refusing to cooperate with the club. And the unfortunate part of the transfer window, and you see the story here, our striker, without naming him, the Swedish international, decided to refuse to play and train, got his move to Liverpool. Johan Wissa refused to play, refused to train for a little bit of time. He did get his move to Newcastle. Strand Larsen behaved, did not get his move to Newcastle. Mark Gay behaved, did not get his move to Liverpool. An unfortunate message that you might see in future transfer windows, where not behaving at your football club seems to work over players that are fair, respecting the system. They're not getting their moves. Now, I want to talk about Strand Larsen, because since that Newcastle drama, he scored 1 goal in 7 games. He has 2 goals in the League Cup, but that was during the spell where he was heavily linked to Newcastle. Since that, he scored 1 penalty, and that's it. I know the easy argument you could make now on a short-term basis with Strand Larsen's playing, Johan Wissa's not. So out of the 2 players, you would still lean towards Strand Larsen, because at least he can play matches now. But long term, Johan Wissa is going to do better than him. I'm 100% certain. Once Wissa comes in, might take him a couple of games to get going. That's a player who scored 19 goals in the league last season. Strand Larsen, match fit, playing for Wolves, he's not performing. Look at the drop off he's had since last season, and that's a team now in the bottom 3. And unfortunately, the situation you've got, I think this way towards Nottingham Forest as well. I'm almost vouching, I'm almost going out my way. I'm hoping that these teams go down just so you can get these players in a cheaper deal. We talk about Wolves with Strand Larsen. I think Newcastle, if Wolves was to go down, Newcastle would go back in for him. I think we would, because you potentially could get him on a great deal. I know we've already got 2 strikers, but I think long term, it's potentially possible where you could actually bring Nick back into a number 10 and maybe having an attacking midfielder role, because that seems like a sort of area would be suited him, and then have a striker further ahead of him. I think that's entirely possible. And especially in terms of teams going down, I 100% feel this way towards Nottingham Forest. These are 2 registered teams in the Premier League. You know now the newly promoted teams, something's going to stir up. Leeds and Burnley are both giving their all. And fair play to Sean Longstaff and Martin de Bradke, by the way. They both left Newcastle this summer. De Bradke, especially for £2 million, is single-handedly keeping Burnley in games with huge saves that are getting results for a team that you wouldn't expect to get many results at all. I think everyone had Burnley in that bottom 3, so the fact that he's doing well. Burnley are 5 points above the drop currently. Sean Longstaff done well at Leeds as well. Leeds are well and truly above the drop zone at the minute. 2 Newcastle players that were so poor. In our point of view, fair deals, but not a lot of money. 2 newly promoted teams have done wonders with them. And I'm actually now, unfortunately, how anti-competitive FFP and PSR. I'm actually looking at teams like Forest, and I actually want Forest to go down just so you can get Eddie Anderson a cheaper deal. And I feel awful saying that because Forest is a proper club, got great fans, got real history. They're a team that I like to go to on the way there, and it's just a good area to go to. And yet I'm going out of my way, and I'm hoping and almost wishing that these teams go down, just for the sole fact that Newcastle can have a nice time next summer. And that's how anti-competitive this market is now. It's an unfortunate problem where I think in the competitive sense, like, why would I want these teams to go down? So it's a bit of a shame in that regard, but 100% at the minute, it's looking good for Newcastle. The teams that are potentially going down, West Ham's got a few good players in there. Eddie Anderson, you're licking his lips, potentially going down so he could come back to Newcastle. And again, Jurgen Strand lost. I think Newcastle would go back in for next summer if Wolves was to go down. And it looks like these teams are going to do that. And speaking of Strand Larsen, of course, you've seen the reaction at the full time at the Molineux where he's actually gone over to the fans. You can see him visibly angry with the reaction that the supporters were giving him after the games. He attempted to speak to them and he's just not liking the response that they got. Real toxic sign. And I think it's nailed on. Despite how early it is in the season, I think it's a nailed on story for Wolves. And I think teams like this, for a long time in the Premier League, Wolves has always just been dependent on the newly promoted teams going back down. There's a couple of seasons now that have been flirting with relegation, they're rubbish, they're not a great side at all. And now that the newly promoted teams are actually doing something, they're straight at the bottom. And I think they deserve to be there as well. I think Wolves have got a real chance of going down. And despite, in the summer, they could have potentially got around £60 million from Newcastle. They've decided not to do that and it hasn't paid off for them so far. On away from it, of course, we are still awaiting the news regarding Newton James's part. Still not being announced yet, and it's still going to take ages for it to be announced. But to excite the fans quite a lot, have you seen the new stadium Saudi Arabia is planning ahead of the 2034 World Cup? The first ever sky building stadium, a stadium just on top of a skyscraper. It's just a flex at this point. There's not even any logical reason for that existing. It's just to solely show off their country, to show how much money they've got. And I think the practical point of view, as amazing as it looks, how the hell do you get out of that stadium after the game, by the way? Like, is there going to be lifts there? How are you going to get tens of thousands of people out the lifts in a quick manner after the game? It's just so high up in the sky. And of course, I wanted to mention that. It's not happening at St James's Park, by the way. That's not going to solve the Leazes Park problems as much as we would like a stadium as meant to us that. But just a reminder, the public investment for they got money. They got real money, they got real ambition behind them. You've seen it with stuff like Salah, you've seen the displays, you've seen what they've done during this season just to show off around Newcastle. The PAF, they've taken their time, yes, but they'll have serious plans for this stadium. Expect a great stadium. Don't expect that, but certainly expect a huge stadium and certainly expect a stadium for the future. I think the infrastructure behind it as well is going to be great for Newcastle. Eventually, when it does get announced, we'll be able to see it for ourselves, but I'm excited for the eventual announcement. Still taking its time though, so we'll have to wait and see in regards to that. But in terms of Newcastle United news, I just wanted to get a few bits and bobs about that really. It's been a bit of a bizarre summer, of course, with all the stuff going on behind the scenes, and despite how things may have ended for Newcastle, I have to say I still think we've done incredibly well. Once Johan Wissa comes in, he will do well for Newcastle. It's an unfortunate case where I would argue maybe a bit critical towards a player myself, because sure, a player, he hasn't been playing for Brentford. Yes, he's been training, but surely going on international duty, you've got to take care of your own body, I think. I think you've got to understand your limitations. He's got started both games DR Congo straight up front. I feel like as a player, you got to kind of say, well, listen, lads, I haven't been playing that much. Can you, like, not put me right into the deep end like that? Because I feel like the player, especially with having these dream moves in Newcastle, this is a 29-year-old, you're talking the literal dream move of his career. He's been waiting for a massive move to a Champions League side. This is his, I would argue as well, his final big move. This is the move for him where it's all going to happen now or it's not going to happen for him. And kind of go out in international duty in what is a couple of friendly games and then get injured like that. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like as a player, you maybe should be a bit more on top of that. But yeah, he'll be back hopefully next week. Sounds like he's close now. Finally, we get to see this guy play. I'm looking forward to it as well because I feel like he's going to kick the ground off running. And ironically, after hearing so many things about a different striker not being match fit, not performing well, I've got a sneaky feeling Whistle scores in his debut. I just feel like straight away it's written in the stars in terms of this full striker saga going on with multiple clubs. I've got a feeling Wissel scores in his debut. It's just something about it. But hope you guys enjoyed watching anyway. I just wanted to talk for you a bit about the Strand Larsen situation, of course. Has Newcastle dodged the bullet and answered the question? I think we have. I think we definitely have in terms of the price tag. Again, I know you could argue, well, Wissel's not playing, Larsen is. I still think once Wissel comes in, he's going to do a lot more than Larsen this season. However, again, as I mentioned previously, if they go down, you can get Larsen a cheap deal. I'll be all for him. I still would be all for him. He's a player that clearly wasn't wanting to come to Newcastle. Someone that is capable of scoring goals in the Premier League, just seems to be playing in a team that's crap. They're the worst team in the league. They're playing in a team with no confidence, real toxicity in the stands. Fans clearly don't want to be associated with Wolves at the minute. So we'll see how that goes for him this season. But certainly, again, as much as I hate to say it, if Forest and Wolves go down, straight away you got to be on top of these players, because there's players in there that would want to join Newcastle, and there's players in there Newcastle would want as well. So as horrible as it is nowadays, I'm rooting for these teams to go down. It's just because of how horrible FFP and PSR is. Newcastle needs to get good deals next summer if we don't get European football. Again, we'll see how that goes. But hope you guys enjoy watching. Take care, and we will see you all in the next one.